Berkshire District Attorney Andrea Harrington is helping lead a community conversation on domestic violence, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening with this community read of No Visible Bruises, I believe the book is?
Yes. So a constituent, Marietta Cause, sent me a clip from the New York Times that was about this book called No Visible Bruises, What We Don't Know About Domestic Violence Can Kill Us by Rachel Louise Snyder. So because she sent me this, I got this book and I read it and I was really blown away because it offers a roadmap of what it is that I would like to do here in Berkshire County to address the problem that we have of domestic violence, and we do have a serious domestic violence problem. So the Domestic Sexual Violence Task Force that my office started with in conjunction with the Elizabeth Freeman Center took this on as a project and took it on as a community read. So they've been very successful. Our community has rallied around this project. We have a number of sponsors who have purchased copies of the books. So we've had at least 50 different book club discussions where we've discussed the book. We have over 300 people right now that are signed up to come to the Colonial Theater on February 6th. The author is coming to do a presentation on the book, and I was able to give copies of the book to every police chief and every judge here in Berkshire County. And to me, this is a great way for our community to work across many different sectors on a really significant public health challenge.
What did you personally take away from the book? Was anything in that really struck you?
Well, what struck me is that there are solutions to domestic violence, and this sort of old idea where we just throw up our hands and say victims cannot be helped because they keep going back to their abuser, that is just wrong. It's based, I think, on gender stereotypes, and that if we have good investigations, if we have effective laws, if we have people that are communicating across the community, if we have real support and options for victims, and if instead of asking ourselves, why doesn't the victim leave, we ask ourselves, why does the perpetrator continue to use violence against their loved ones? And if we start to look at that and look at answers around that, then I really believe that we can change our community and we can change our culture and we can improve public safety.
Yeah, that's really flipping the perspective that somehow it was up to the victim to make themselves safe. Since it was the victim's fault if they were walking through a parking lot and got mugged. It's the victim's fault if they stay with somebody who's abusive, without looking at the perpetrator. Why is the perpetrator doing these things? And the perpetrator should be the one looking to be changed necessarily, right?
That's what this book does. And it's a hard book to read, but it's very powerful.
So what has your office been doing with the task force? I mean, what have you found in Berkshire County working through the task force? Is it endemic domestic abuse? Is it you talked about gendered abuse in particular? How is your office addressing that?
So we do have statistics around domestic violence. 9 people have been murdered in domestic violence incidents in the last 3 years in our community of 130,000 people. The rates of people requesting restraining orders 33% higher here in Berkshire County than it is across the state. And to me, those are indicators that we have a problem. And I mean, what my office has found in working across the community is that, I think that, we can do the accountability piece. Law enforcement can do that accountability piece much better than we have been, and we've implemented changes to do that. But to change the culture and to have, really effective treatment tools for abusers, we need to engage with the community around that. And we also need to engage with the community to help us identify people who are at risk and help get those people to a safer place.
It seems just being more open about some of the issues that are going on. I think it goes back to opioid abuse too, that nobody ever wanted to talk about it. That person was hidden,
Yeah.
that person wasn't, it became a statistic rather than it is your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband, your mother, your father, your cousin, your next door neighbor, your childhood friend. I mean, and the same thing goes with domestic abuse. Things can be happening, and it's not happening to a certain aspect, certain sector of people. It's happening to the person you might be going to work with every day, and you don't even realize it.
I think what you bring up is the problem of stigma around substance use disorder, around domestic violence, and that stigma and that feeling of shame prevents people from getting help. And I think you got right to the point there, because if we talk about domestic violence and we talk about it being a public health challenge and we talk about it affecting a lot of different kind of people, then I do think that we can reduce that stigma so that people will get help. And since I've been talking about this, every time I go somewhere and talk about this, I have people approaching me, talking to me about their own lived experience.
Wow. All right. So this community read is going to be February 6th at the Colonial.
Yes.
Right? And I know that there's a Facebook event out there.
Yes.
Is there other places where people can register to go?
Yeah, so you can go on our website and get information about how to register. We do ask people to register. We have right now over 300 people that have signed up to attend the event. It's a free event, but if you want to come, we really encourage people to come to our Facebook. You can do it on our office Facebook page. The Domestic Sexual Violence Task Force has its own Facebook page, and you can look on our website.
And I'm assuming that this book is probably available at the Berkshire Athenaeum and other local libraries.
It is, yes.
Okay.
And some of the local bookstores who are selling the book are donating some of their profits. So the Lenox Bookstore and then the Book Loft in Great Barrington. It's also on Audible, and your first Audible download is free.
They keep telling me that.
Yeah, I listen to it on Audible. And we do, so thanks to our sponsors, Greylock Federal Credit Union and Eisner Camp, we have been able to make free copies available. If people do want a copy of the book, then they can definitely call my office, the district attorney's office, and we can get you a copy of No Visible Bruises.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us. And this sounds like it's going to be a really great event, and Berkshires will most likely be covering it.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.